Hey, how's it going? Got a different kind of video here. I'm gonna record a couple down here, I think. That I don't usually record. This is very different. I've been doing more on-camera stuff, but no videos where I'm on the floor. I think first I'm gonna sit and just kind of go through my game collection a little bit, if anyone's interested in that kind of thing. Yeah, I just wanted to go through my game collection a little bit, because I have a lot of games and I like seeing other people's collections, so maybe someone likes seeing mine. I don't know. I got a lot of stories behind most of the games I have, and so I picked out a small pile of stuff here just to kind of go through with some of my all-time favorite games and some of just with some fun stories that I've had throughout the years. I have a lot of games. I'll put the B-roll kind of footage through now where it just kind of shows off the whole collection. But yeah, I have a lot of games. I have a few hundred, I think. I don't know how many. I've never counted, or I haven't counted in a long time. I counted a while ago. But I got myself here. I got some different snacks here. I got some Sour Boys, because that's from Oompaville. That's the channel that inspired me to just do the content I want to do. So I'm snacking on some of that, and I got some drinks here. So yeah, let's just go through some of my collection here that I wanted to talk about and share the stories on. We'll start somewhere over here. I'll save the big stuff for last and just start with the actual game, so give me a second here. Alright, we'll start with this pile. So I've been collecting games for a long time, pretty much as long as I can remember. I've always liked playing video games, and specifically I started, what I can remember, I think I started on like PC gaming, like pirating different stuff my grandpa would get me. And then later on, you know, played the PS2. That was my thing, was PlayStation 2. So that's what I have the most games of, and that's the one that's really on display. And the ones I actively collect every time I see games for sale. And so I have a lot of games on PS2, and some are my childhood copies, and some are copies that I seeked out after wanting them again. Just give me a second. Okay, I got it now. Alright. I had to get my music going. Got some music playing in the background. I'll talk about that in the other video, but yeah. So growing up, I started on PC gaming, and then I eventually got to the PlayStation 2. And that actually was not my PlayStation 2. When I was little, we used to live with some family friends, kind of some roommates. And the one lady's son we lived with had a PlayStation 2, and he let me play all the games on there. So everything I played in the beginning was whatever he had. And surprisingly, he had a lot of good ones. Like he had a lot of the old platformers and stuff like that. And those are the ones I'd play. And then I think soon after that, we got an Xbox 360. But I still stuck to the PS2 for whatever reason, even when we had the Xbox. At some point in my life, too, I had an original Xbox, but I can't remember at what point in time. But yeah. So I have a lot of childhood memories from PS2. It took me a while to get my own PlayStation 2 when I was little, because, like I said, the first one we had was our like roommates, and then we never had one of our own. Maybe we did get one, but we gave it away. My mom would give away a lot of game consoles we had. She gave away our GameCube. Pretty sure she did give away our PlayStation 2. I remember that. Yeah, so the first PlayStation 2 that was actually ours, me and my brothers, I have two siblings, but the first one that was like ours to keep was actually our neighbors. And so we would go to our neighbor's house really often, and because we wanted to play their PlayStation 2, and they would have like Tekken and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, so you know that was good, little kids playing those games. And we would go over there every day, pretty much, to ask just to play the PS2. It was pretty rude, actually. It was very rude. So, anyways, PlayStation 2. We went over to my neighbor's house so often just to play the PlayStation 2 that they had. They eventually just said, you can have it. And the funny part, too, is we were going over there to play it, but we didn't have a memory card, neither did they. So every time we went over to play, when we played Tekken, it was Tekken 5. Whenever we played Tekken, it was no big deal, because, I mean, we didn't even know you could unlock characters. In GTA, we would literally just restart from the beginning every single time. So we know the intro to that game very well, because we've done it dozens of times. But it was a good time. And so yeah, that was our first PS2. And then eventually my mom decided to give it to some family. I'm not sure why, because we still played it and everything. But yeah, we had one of those kind of moms. Thanks, Mom. And we still make fun of her for it to this day. Whenever we talk about old game consoles, be like, yeah, it's actually your fault that I had to re-buy this stuff. Yeah, so eventually I ended up buying my own PS2. When she gave our original PS2 away, me and my brother each kept like a couple games that were our favorites because we knew she was giving it away, but we still wanted to keep certain games because like those were ours. And we would, like, our favorite games ever, so we weren't going to drop those. For my brother, it was Resident Evil 4. That was the one game he kept, never let go of. He still has that exact same copy. And for me, it was 2 games, which I have one of them here. I'll get into in a minute. We'll just start with that one, actually. Down at the bottom here. This here, and I will have some zoomed in pictures of these games when I talk about them in the beginning. This is my childhood copy of Jak and Daxter. I never had the original case for it. It was, when I first had it, it was just no case. And then it went into a Family Guy, like, season collection case with nothing on it. So it was like an orange see-through case that I wrote on with purple Sharpie to say Jak and Daxter, but it's like this thin, because I didn't have anything to put it in. And I think that's when the collection aspect really started. Was when I cared about the cases and things that they were stored in, and I wanted to, like, you know, catalog all of them, the ones that I had. Then I wanted to know which was which just by looking at it, which obviously it's not that hard if you only have like 5 games. You know which one's Jak and Daxter if that's the only one without a case or anything, or even if they all have no cases. I mean, it takes you 2 seconds to find them because there's 5 of them. But I always held on to that same exact copy. This is my childhood copy. It actually glitches in the same spot every single time. When you get to a certain level, Spider Cave, in this exact spot, there's a like 25% chance the game freezes consistently because it's all beat to shit. And so, yeah, but it's still beatable because eventually it'll stop glitching. And yeah, I've never let go of this game. This is my favorite game of all time. Just something about it, maybe just because it's the one game I've held on to this long. It was this and Jak 3. I never had Jak. I played Jak 2, but I never had my own copy. And yeah, these games are really important to me. I can go back to and play any Jak and Daxter 1, 2, or 3 all the way through and still have a good time. I mean, they're my favorite games of all time. Just something about them for me personally that really just makes me feel comfortable when I play them. So yeah, that's one of them. That's my favorite game of all time. Another one in here from a different story. This one here is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Recently just got a full remake announced for it for the Nintendo Switch, which is incredibly exciting. This, for a while, was like my second favorite game of all time. It was like Jak and Daxter, and then it was Paper Mario. And this is the only RPG I ever played growing up. I don't even think I knew what RPGs were for the longest time, but I knew this game, and I knew that I really liked it here. And this is actually my childhood copy of Paper Mario. Thank God, because the game's fucking expensive. It's like over $100, which is insane. Everything on the GameCube is expensive. I don't collect very many GameCube games just because they're too expensive for me. PlayStation 2, I don't mind buying the expensive games because I have so many of the others. But on GameCube, if you want any average game, it's going to be a Nintendo game because everything else is I'm going to want on PS2 over anything else. Or it's, you know, on Xbox or PS2 exclusive. And so you're down to the Nintendo exclusives, and they're all expensive. And so they're really annoying to collect. I still get them occasionally, but this I've had since I was a kid, since I got my first GameCube. Funny enough, my mom gave away that GameCube. It was really nice of her. And we did not keep games from that GameCube. Actually, so my mom gave away our GameCube to like a family friend, a completely different one. And they, a couple years later, sold the GameCube in a garage sale. We happened to go by, like, because she said she was having a garage sale, their mom, and so we go by to like see what, you know, they're selling, and like our fucking GameCube games are in there, and we had to re-buy our GameCube games. There's one we never got back, which was Hitman 2, because it sold before we got there. Mario Kart Double Dash and Mario Sunshine were all there, but by the time we got there, they were gone. And so luckily, Paper Mario was still there, and so I do have my childhood copy of Paper Mario. I think there's even stuff in there. The manual's like beat up to shit. I don't think I ever put notes in this. Luigi's Mansion has notes in it. I think that's my childhood copy, but I didn't pull that out today. Yeah, so I had to re-buy this copy of it, like when we were kids. After we gave it to him, that was fucked up. doggone crazy over there. But yeah, so that was a game we had to rebuy after we gave it away, which is kind of fucked up. But still a better price than it costs now. It was probably like $5 back then, which we complained about. So let's move on to a couple other games here. I have a NES game here. It's WrestleMania for the NES. This was the first NES game I ever bought. It was at a garage sale. I didn't own an NES, and I didn't still for several years after I bought it. And I used it as like a little gag prop just with my friends. I like collecting old shit, and it was the very first time I'd ever seen an NES game like in a garage sale or for sale anywhere. So I picked it up and just held on to it, and I've had it since. It's not that old, but yeah, it's just a neat little story there. It's the first game I ever bought before I got it. Here is Final Fantasy II in the US, or Final Fantasy IV internationally in Japan. And this is a copy of the game I picked up real cheap. I got it the first time I went to a new game store I found near where I live. And, you know, I was just starting to collect more games than just PlayStation 2 and, like, GameCube. And I got a Super Nintendo for my friend, which actually that would have been a good story. I'll tell that another time. But I didn't have any Super Nintendo games or a controller, so the goal was to get a controller. And then I found this, and I'll show a close-up of it, but it's really beaten up. The case is like super glued back together. It's like someone stabbed it, and then they kind of put it back together. It's really strange, but it works perfectly fine, and because of its condition, it was really cheap, and it's an authentic copy. I'm big on authentic copies. It's just how my brain works. I'm not against pirating or anything stupid like that. That would just be so... That'd be silly. I'm not against pirating. I just don't... I would prefer to have the original just because I'm weird. So yeah. Here's another little game here. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. Not Tenkaichi 3. Budokai 3. It's one of my favorite games ever. It's very nostalgic. Every time I look at the box art or the disc for it, it like fucking is overwhelming. Even now, like looking at it, it's like overwhelming feeling of like comfort and happiness. Because for years... I didn't know what the game was, so basically I played it when I was little, probably around the time when I first played PlayStation 2 when we were living with roommates, and like I just thought I didn't even know what Dragon Ball Z was, but I just thought it was cool, and so I enjoyed playing it. I don't remember much from it other than like the intro, the cover of the box, the side of the box, and the disc, because I used to like look at games a lot because it was really interesting. Like I always loved the presentation of different games. And I think that's probably where a lot of this started, this obsession. So when I eventually, like one day I was like, man, like I remember playing a game, and I think it was Dragon Ball. And so I started looking up different Dragon Ball Z games, and then I found it. I found the intro, I found the cover, and I was like, whoa. It was this insane, overwhelming feeling. It's like when you remember something, and you can't figure it out, but then you actually figure out what it was. It's like, I can't even describe that feeling. So every time I look at it, I get that same feeling. I like the game a lot, so it's like my favorite Dragon Ball Z game. But yeah, and then I have another game here that is the exact same. It is the greatest hits version of it. It actually has a different cover art for it, and that's because on the back, it actually advertises that you could switch the voices from English to Japanese at the very top, now with the original Japanese voice cast. And it had like 2 extra costumes in it or something, like, or characters. I don't remember. I think it was costumes. However, the first however many copies of this game that sold in the US were misprints. And so even though it all says greatest hits and it is the correct box art, it does not have any additional content and is identical to the black box version, which sucks. Because I found it and got super excited. Then loaded it up, couldn't find the new content. Quick Google search later found out that was the case. So neat story there. Saving this one here for a little later. Got 2 games here. Beyond Good and Evil right there, and Super Mario Galaxy. Just because it has a bit of a background to like when I started collecting games like psychotically and obsessively. I went on a school field trip to our state's capital, and we went to the mall. And so what does a middle schooler do when they go to the mall? Like, however many 100 miles away from their home, that's this new place. They say, man, a video game would be tight, though, if I spent all my souvenir money on video games. And I did. I bought Beyond Good and Evil and Super Mario Galaxy. And I didn't know anything about Beyond Good and Evil. And I heard Super Mario Galaxy was good. I also heard Beyond Good and Evil was good. And so I was like, oh, like I'm gonna get these, like, and I did, and then I started this tradition where every time I go somewhere, I'm wondering where the video game store is, because I'm trying to collect new games to get stories like this, where I was like, oh yeah, when I was like in Tallahassee, I bought video games for souvenirs, and I ended up beating Super Mario Galaxy. It's a fantastic game. Couldn't finish Beyond Good and Evil yet. Still working on it. I'll get back to it eventually. It's just a long game. I'm not good with long games. It takes me. I change games a lot because I collect a lot of different kind of games. So a game really has to either hold me to get me to finish it, or I just end up moving on, you know. Another game I got here right after that is Resident Evil on the GameCube. And the reason this copy is here is because I bought this from GameStop. GameStop, I don't think they do right now. They started selling retro video games. Like, they just started being like, hey, give us your retro video games so we can sell them. And so they started reselling them, but they were really cheap prices. So it was like a steal for a lot of games. I mean, for Resident Evil, I probably paid like nothing for it, but I mean, it's not super expensive, I don't think. I'll put the price on screen and maybe be surprised, but it's not a cheap game. And this is the, I think, only game. I think I've gotten a couple others. It's very rare you would order a game from GameStop and get it in the box. They never told you whether or not you get it in the box. It was like it was a surprise. It was a mystery. And this one was, and I was like, wow, of all the games I could have got, like, that is dope as fuck to get Resident Evil Remake in the box. Like, that's super sick. Okay, let's finish off this first pile here with Dark Souls 2 Black Armor Edition. Take it out of the sleeve there and stand it up. Ooh. This is my first Souls game. When I bought Dark Souls... So, let me rewind. I went to GameStop one time, and I wanted to get Dark Souls because I heard it was hard, like scary hard. And at the time, I was actually scared to play Dark Souls because I thought it was going to be too hard. Little did I know this would start a massive rabbit hole into a brand new obsession with certain types of video games. So I go to GameStop. I see Dark Souls 2 is there on the shelf. I'm like, man, the case is dope as fuck, and it's the same price as the others. Like, that is badass. I don't know anything about Dark Souls at this point. I don't know anything about Dark Souls 1 or 2, or, you know, the difference, or Bloodborne, or anything like that. And I saw Dark Souls 1 in a regular case, and it was more expensive. So I do a quick Google search, like, hey, do I need to play Dark Souls 1 before 2? And they're like, no. I was like, okay, I'm going to get Dark Souls 2. And I brought it to the register, and I wasn't, like super young, but I must have been younger. And the GameStop employee literally was like, hey, this is what he said to me. He said, do you know anything about Dark Souls? I was like, no, I heard, I just wanted to try it. And he's like, all right, but the game's really hard, in case you didn't know. I was like, yeah. He's like, are you sure? Like, you want to get it? Like, literally, he was like, you can get it, but, like, it's actually really hard. Like, he was warning me, like, not to get the game because it was really hard. That's what Dark Souls was known for at the time. And I was like, yeah, I'll get it. And so I bring it home, and I'm so fucking scared to play. I've never played an RPG except for, like, Paper Mario. This is, like, an action RPG. And so, like, I'm terrified. And you start off in an area that's real dark, and I was a little pussy-ass kid. So I was scared to play Dark Souls 2. So I used an IGN guide, like, step by step for, like, most of the game. And that was my first experience with Dark Souls. I also did, in the middle of beating Dark Souls 2, I did get Dark Souls 1 and tried it, and I didn't like it. And Dark Souls 2, though, I was obsessed with. My feelings on it are a bit different now, because I've played all the Souls games pretty much. I've 100% Dark Souls 1, 2, and Bloodborne, and I've beaten Dark Souls 3. Haven't beaten Elden Ring. I got pretty far. I didn't even get far in it. I got plenty of hours in it, but not very far. And Sekiro is very difficult, but I just beat Lies of P recently, and I'm feeling a lot better about Sekiro. So I will probably be playing that soon to 100%. But this is my first Souls game, so I didn't know about negative connotations around, like, big releases like this. Like, I didn't know Dark Souls 2 was such a letdown, because I had no expectations. So for me, at least as far as quality, for me, it was great. It was fantastic. It was this challenge that I overcame, and it was magic. I mean, that's why I still play Souls games to this day. Little did I know, like, I'd like the other ones way more, but I actually ended up 100%ing Dark Souls 2. This is, by the way, this is vanilla Dark Souls 2, not Scholar of the First Sin. Just to get a little bit opinionated here, I prefer this version over Scholar of the First Sin literally any day of the week, because I think the enemy placement's superior. Not the point. I 100% this version of the game on the Xbox 360, completely in offline mode, because I didn't have Xbox Live. And so that was another thing too. Growing up, it was hard to get video games for a while. It was very rare to get new video games, so that we really played the ones we had. But this, and then we never had Xbox Live. My brother had Xbox Live, but I wanted to play on my account, right? So I played the game completely offline. And by the time, like, I thought, like, fuck it, I'll just play on my brother's account just so I can get Xbox Live and get some of the collectibles easier, I was already at the end of the game. So it was like, I'm not going to replay the entire thing to 100% it. And so I 100% it on completely offline, the original 360. Wow, I think it took me like 500 hours or something. It was insane. I played this game a fuck ton, but I really liked it, and I still do. It's a favorite here, but obviously it's not the best Souls game. I mean, if you think it's the best Souls game, I think that's great. I think other games are better, but it's like I don't even know if it's my favorite. I like the game a lot though, just as much as the others, to be honest. But I played the other ones first. But yeah, let's get into the next game pile here. Move this one aside, right there. Let's start with House of the Dead 3. This was a recent buy. The sticker's still on it, actually. I went to Tampa for the Creator Clash 2, the second Creator Clash, and actually this gun goes with it as well. No. Yes. I think I bought them both at the same time. Yeah, that's the only reason I bought it. Those go together, because there's a light gun for it. I went to Creator Clash, I think it was last year, this year, I don't fucking remember. Creator Clash 2, whichever year it was. It was this year. And went to a game store before going to Creator Clash, and we were pretty much late. But yeah, it was a stressful drive. And I found House of the Dead 3 there. No manual, which sucks. So when we went to Creator Clash 2, we drove there day of and drove back that same night. So it was like, I don't know how many hours there and then how many hours back in the same day after sitting through an entire fight. Fight series, whatever the fuck. And so I come home, and all I want to do, I'm kicked up on like 4+ Red Bulls at this point because I've been trying to stay awake all day. And all I want to do is come home and play House of the Dead because it has House of the Dead 2 on it, which is one of my favorite games I played as a kid because it's one of the games I had on PC when I was first playing games like for the first time ever. And so I heard House of the Dead 2 is on here, which is the main reason I wanted it. And I hadn't played House of the Dead 3 in a long time. And then I booted it up, and my Xbox quit working. And I'll put the I'll put the videos up on the screen here, but yeah, I was not very happy. It was like, I don't know how late in the morning, and I was literally opening my Xbox to make sure it fucking worked, so I could play House of the Dead. And I did get it working that night, I think. I really don't remember. I was ready to buy a new Xbox, but I did get it working. And then I played it, and it was like fine. And it was really hard, so I quit playing it. And I'm going to get back to it one day. Got another game here. Silent Hill 4. Wow, that's a really cool one. Haven't finished it. A lot of games here I haven't finished. About half of them. No, I've finished Jak and Daxter, Paper Mario, not WrestleMania or WWF, whatever it is. And haven't finished Final Fantasy IV. Have Budokai 3, not Beyond Good and Evil. I have Super Mario Galaxy, not Resident Evil. And I have Dark Souls 2, you know that. Neither House of the Dead or Silent Hill 4. The story behind this is Brian, my friend, I watched his house, and he had a lot of old PS2 games. So I was like, hey, like, can I have some of these for watching your house? I don't want any money. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. And so I took it. I took it from his shit because I was like, yeah, I'm taking this one. He's like, okay. And so that's how I got Silent Hill 4. Cheap. It's an expensive game. This is another one here, Silent Hill 2, in an all-black case, no label. And the story behind this game, I was in a thrift store, and what do you think I do when I go to thrift stores? I'm looking for video games or I'm bored, right? So at this point in time, I was still looking through empty, like, black cases because, I mean, how often do video games stay intact, like, in the same case, right? So I'm looking through black cases, and lo and behold, Silent Hill 2. Like, holy fuck, like, how legendary is that? To open up a black case, actually find a video game inside, and it's fucking Silent Hill 2. And me and my buddy Brian, who gave me Silent Hill 4, actually, he beat this game while I watched, and we watched the whole game. The disc is beat to fuck. But I mean, it's Silent Hill 2. I gotta at least pick it up and try it. And, it was like less than $5. Like, again, let's put the prices up for Silent Hill 4 and Silent Hill 2. $5 total. Yeah, so that's Silent Hill 2 is fantastic. I'd love to do a video on it someday, but Man, that'll be one of the last videos I ever do because I need to do that game justice. It's fucking amazing. Got a couple other games here. Let me see. I got Shadow of the Colossus. So the reason I put Shadow of the Colossus here is because just kind of talk about how early I started collecting video games and what I was looking for in video games, right? So like, is the manual in here? No, that's underneath the manual. It's a pretty cool manual. I think I got this from a friend. I think a friend gave it to me, a different friend. I actually did a podcast with him that's fucking ancient at this point in my YouTube history, but it's on my trash channel, my old channel. Taylor gave me this game, I think, because inside was the greatest hits copy. I'm pretty sure he gave this to me. I'm fairly positive he gave it to me. If not, then I'm like an idiot. The reason I put this here is because as a kid, when I went into game stores, like little fucking squeak, and I was looking for new games, like I wasn't looking for like the new fucking Call of Duty. Like I was like, yo, hey, do you have Shadow of the Colossus? And they're like, oh, no, but you know, I can check around for it. Like, and I remember vividly going into a game store, and like I asked like for Shadow of the Colossus, like, hey, I didn't see it. Do you have Shadow of the Colossus? And like I remember hearing like I was a kid, so I heard like adults next to me, and they're like, "Oh, Shadow of the Colossus, that's a good one." And I was like, "Oh, like, yeah, obviously." That's not like a compliment to myself or anything. Just like I was looking for shit like that. I think I was looking for quality titles, not just like shit that was like new or anything like that. It took me a long time to quit playing PS2 and play new games. It was a more recent thing I started playing new games, to be honest. I've always played PS2 games. And so, yeah, like, this is just my mindset when looking for games. It's just the classics, even though they were older than me. Shadow of the Colossus is not older than me, thank God. I have a couple other games here. I have Metal Gear Solid 2, right here. Sons of Liberty, the OG version, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, again, the OG version. The reason that's significant is because of these two right here. So I picked up Metal Gear Solid 2 at a flea market, and I didn't play it because I was like, this is boring. I just heard it was fantastic and picked it up because I was like, oh, maybe I'll like it. Didn't like it, so I didn't play it for years. And it wasn't until like 4 years ago maybe that I would finally, for no particular reason, I hadn't heard anything about the games. I hadn't been like, I hadn't watched a story video, been like, damn, that's crazy. I was just like, one day, like, I'll give it another try. That's what's incredible about a lot of these games. It's like Silent Hill, Shadow of the Colossus, Metal Gear Solid. I got to experience these games blind, right? Like, it wasn't like I got spoiled and like then I got interested. Like, I got to run into Metal Gear Solid 2 completely blind, and that is an experience I feel like everyone needs to go through, like, if they appreciate video games. Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of the greatest games of all time, and I don't think there's an argument there. I'll argue over that. It's one of the greatest games ever made. It predicted today, like 20 years ago, is what I say every time. And I was so blown away with Metal Gear Solid 2 when I finally finished it. Just all the detail, the story, like everything about it, the presentation, that after the game ended, and I never played Metal Gear Solid 1 and still haven't. After Metal Gear Solid 2 ended, I was hooked. I absolutely had to play the next game. However, this is a time when I had money and I had to pay for my own stuff. I was a little older, so I said this recently. And I had to play the next game no matter what. So I remember I didn't have any money. I was pretty close to zero in the bank, right? Maybe a couple bucks. So I was still living at home because I was still under 18. And I was like, hey, Mom, listen, can you buy me this? I'm like, I'm a couple dollars short. It's like $8. I have like $7, and I need to cover the shipping. Can you? And I was on Amazon. I bought it. It wasn't very. This game's very cheap, and I'll get into why Snake Eater specifically is super cheap, or maybe it still is. It was. I looked through all the Amazon listings. I am broke, but I still needed to have a manual, and I still needed to have the original cover. Okay, and I do not. Well, yeah, I didn't want subsistence, but I also couldn't afford subsistence because it was more expensive. I was like secretly hoping maybe the better version would come in the mail instead of Snake Eater, but Snake Eater came, whatever. I was like, listen, let me just borrow some money and I'll pay you back. I have to have this as soon as possible. Like, even if I know I'm getting paid in a couple days and I can order it then, but I need this to get here ASAP because this is so important to me. And she's like, okay, like, what? All right, yeah, have a couple dollars, idiot. Like, fine. And so it came. I was excited. Everything's in here. And what sucks about it is the original version of Metal Gear Solid 3 does not have a free camera. It has a fixed camera. Which if you've ever played Metal Gear Solid 3, you'll know that's an issue. Because the game is so open, you need to be able to see shit that the fixed camera literally just didn't let you do very well. But I beat it. I beat the entire game with the fixed camera, and it was amazing. Metal Gear Solid 3 is also one of the greatest games of all time. And eventually, I did get the better version of Metal Gear Solid 2. I believe this was actually off GameStop, because I didn't know it was going to be this version. Eventually, I did get the better version of Metal Gear Solid 2 that has skateboarding and shit in it. It's not very different from the base version, but Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence is very different from Snake Eater. Subsistence comes with 2 additional games. It comes with Metal Gear 1 and 2 that were from like the MSX, like an old computer. It's got some connectivity shit. It also comes with a shit ton of new costumes, new difficulties, and you can move the camera freely. It makes the game so much more playable. I will never tell someone to play Snake Eater. I will say no. If you only have a PS2, get Subsistence, and please don't play the original, because it should not be with a fixed camera. But I still did it, and it was still amazing. But the free camera makes the game perfect. And then I have one more over here. It's the N64 console here. I'll kind of try to hold it up here. The reason I brought this over here is because I wanted to get a bit of a variety about everything. I had a bunch of games, all different consoles, and I have the pistol here for the Xbox for the House of the Dead. But I wanted to get this. This is my N64 console, and I just thought it looks really nice. I don't play N64 a whole lot, but I bought it, and the lister on eBay, I know I'm not going to be able to find the post, so I'm not even going to say I might find it. The lister on eBay claimed that these decals were specifically for a company that were given these by Nintendo, and that there's only, say, like, less than 10 of these decals, period. I have no idea if that's true. No way to confirm that. I just remember the lister saying that, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, so I bid on it. There was also a Ocarina of Time version, but I wanted the Majora's Mask one because it looked way cooler, and Majora's Mask is really cool, too. So I got it, and I've had it ever since, and it's in insane condition. The only thing is on the bottom, it does have a GameStop warranty sticker, so GameStop got in their hands on this at some point. It does work, though. I just wish that wasn't on there. But, yeah, I mean, this is supposedly like a 1 of 6 of these same decals. I don't know if that's true. If anyone actually watches this video and gets to this point somehow, if they know anything about this, like, please let me know. I'd love to know. But I think that's it. I think that's everything I got. Yeah, if anyone decides to watch this and they end up wanting to see more games I have out off of the shelf, let me know. I have stories about pretty much every game up there, because that's what I do. I like to collect them. That's something I focus on a lot. So yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. I have other channels in the description. This is not going on the main channel. This is going to go on the trash channel. Just where I like to throw up my ideas, just to get them off my chest, because I have a lot of ideas in my head all the time, so I like to get them. I like to make them, at least let them be existent, so I can see if like the idea I had was good or not, you know. And these are the ones I don't have confidence in, so we're just gonna throw it out there. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hope you have a good one.